Hello everyone, welcome back. My name's Ketchup, joined by ZSX. As always, you are watching week number 1 of season 2 of Quake Pro League. We have a heavy hitter of a matchup to start this season, and it's going to be none other than RAISY and toxjq. So, two fan favorites for sure. Tox having a fair amount of fans of just that godlike execution, the swag, the style. But then RAISY, just obnoxiously efficient at everything he does, but also has that bit of unique flair that really makes him stand out. Sometimes it's the champion picks, sometimes it's just that little bit of preparation he might have, whether it's a Galena placement or whatever it might be. The Godslayer coming in hot most weeks and definitely redeeming himself at the Quake World Championship. And I think a lot of people have been watching his practice sessions. He's looking really good, and we can expect him to stay on top, I think.
Yeah, the slightly turbulent stage 3 in terms of the league wasn't as commanding as we saw him throughout stage 1 and 2. But as you rightly said, he definitely proved himself worthy once again in the stage 4 finals, and did get a little bit manhandled by Rafa in the final stages, but nevertheless, he did claw his way back, beat obviously Wenger going up to that point, and showed himself entirely worthy. Tox came into the finals actually with a lot of promise, having beaten RAISY, proved me completely wrong last time they matched up, and was showing new strides and knocking out Cypher, but also then fell quite early down into the bracket, which was hugely unfortunate. As you rightly said, people love to see Tox, and he hasn't shown his true colors for quite a while to get to a point where he's now contesting for titles. Another player who's incredibly gifted, but just lacks in some areas still, and it's unfortunate to see.
I have said it so many times, and I do not mean this in a disrespectful way. I say this as a Tox fan, that it can be stressful being a Tox fan sometimes, because when he wins, his wins are incredible. You know, you've got the most ridiculous just 10-minute frag movie, right, on a single map. But then when he loses, sometimes there are some losses where he'll just have it in the palm of his hand. He just needs to take it, you know, just needs to do that. And he doesn't do that. It falls out and it drops everywhere, and the map doesn't go his way. So you almost get left with a bad taste in your mouth. But it's upsetting to see, but it happens to Tox more than most people, and I think that's why it seems to stand out for him a little bit. Curious about the picks and bans. We're going to see what the journey will be. RAISY, I think, is going into this with an advantage, because it's preparation. RAISY knows who he's against. He has to match toe-to-toe with AIM. You bet he'll be able to do that, but there's a chance that RAISY will be a bit more methodical than Tox, and that will probably give him an edge in this matchup.
You would think so. I mean, last time these two went head-to-head, I said it should be an easy victory for RAISY. I think I said 3-3-0, and it definitely wasn't. And you never know what you're going to get from Tox. That's why it's so exciting and disappointing all at the same time, trying to watch him, analyze him, because as you rightly said, he can pull out some of the most amazing performances, but also then pull out performances where you say, well, I don't really know what you're doing. So we don't know what Tox is going to turn up, but if the best Tox turns up, it will be close, and he will win, or could win. But at the same time, you rightly said, RAISY's looking back to his best, which is scary for everyone in the league.
Especially seeing as, you know, I don't want to be speaking the obvious too much today, but this is week 1 of season 2. So if you're bringing an A game and you're almost like you're in tip-top shape, this is a great way to start. You know, that first week, and the fact that, as I will continue to say today, to remind those that might have just tuned in, the change of format where it's not really about points anymore, it's about just maps and the prize money that you take, but more importantly that every time we go into a new stage, we get that new sort of clean slate. It means that you have to play at your A game every step of the way. You can't really afford to have bad weeks, because one bad week in a single stage can be the difference between being comfortable and not. So that's the kind of thing where if you're against RAISY, you know, you can't have a bad week against RAISY now. You've got to play the best you can against RAISY, otherwise he's going to win, and you've just wasted that week, basically.
Yeah, we saw Tox obviously ending up mid-leaderboard last time, and of someone of his pedigree, he won't be happy with that, I'm very sure. So it'll be good to see Tox coming back out and progressing on last season's results. There wasn't any LAN he stood out as having, again, successful placements. So for me, pressure's on Tox for this season.
As we now start things off here, RAISY and Tox. Looks like RAISY's on the Sorlag. Apologies for the picks and bans, folks. I believe they will be ready a little bit later. Sorry that it didn't come up beforehand. However, Ruins of Sarnath with the Galena and Sorlag, we're still going to start things off quite heavy. RAISY, those large, beefy champions with good movement. I mean, he is terrifying with those picks.
Yeah, Sorlag is definitely a tough ask in RAISY's hands. Tox, with the Galena and those totems, needs to play slow, but RAISY will be the one trying to force the initiative here. And as we talk about a lot, Rail is going to be the key to unlocking this for Tox. He can't let RAISY get that stack up. He needs to be chipping away at that RAISY as he moves around the map. We already see the tempo from RAISY. He wants to play this fast. He wants to get in Tox's face, and he's definitely not scared of the weaponry that Tox has.
Oh, the heavy got taken. He's going to have, at the very least, the timing on that one now. There's that good call out and jumping towards 2 back-to-back rails and a mega. Looking like that's your green light! Nice. Oh, my lord! That was, yeah, explosion noise right there. And here comes another big push, potentially. I like the respect that RAISY's showing, though. He knows that he's kind of weak himself, so he can't push too hard. You party too hard, you're going to get punished for it. Here comes that heavy picked up. Actually, looks like he's have time to get both. Even with that rail, he has both items.
Oh. Nice. Retaliation rails from Tox. Also got the totem, but RAISY's responding in kind, and Tox does finish off his opponent. Gets himself back on the board 1-1, but we can see, talk about it a lot, but this is the stack Sorlag starts with. You can just run it, Hugh, but it doesn't matter. The super shotgun to the face is going to be enough. Tox is very, very low, though, and RAISY does know that. Tox, realizing his opponent will be spawning over on that side of the map, backs off through the stairwell. RAISY is already waiting for him, though, and the shotgun does a lot, but not enough this time.
But you can always see from RAISY, he goes for the big push. When he's confident there's any amount of you being low, he will go in. I think he's the most likely of any player in the Quake Pro League to actually do that, where he'll get fragged and go, oh wait, no, you're weak, I'm going in. All right, let's go again. There's just no fear. RAISY is fearless. But Tox, great position to deny this. He's going to take a little bit of that free damage, so not that it really matters. Significantly more healthy than RAISY in this situation. But even he has to be very careful going up that jump pad. But he's in position. And I like that frag here from Tox. Comfortable. Stack
look at the
to
stack.
work with.
Yeah, look at the stack.
Say. Ooh, good shot. Looking like Tox's aim at the very least is on point.
The key's always got to be off that back of that is punishing RAISY when he goes to pick up any of these weapons, and that's exactly what Tox has done. RAISY did sneak off with the heavy though. Managed to get virtually all the weapons he needs. He's needed for this mega as well. Tox trying to push up. This is going to be dangerous. Look at the stack of RAISY. He's being dwindled down, but he has position on the mega. And yes, he's low, but he's got away with his life for now.
Importantly, getting the light armor, which means that he's going to be able to tank at least one rail. He's not going to be super vulnerable to that. RAISY using the speed, soaking up both of the lights. So now there's a huge emphasis that Tox has to push in towards this heavy, which is going to kind of funnel him into a rather predictable location. And RAISY was ready for the fight. The second he took those 2 light armors, he knew Tox was going to be down there heavy. Ooh. Shotgun. Certainly doesn't tickle. However, the tri-bolt, can Tox get it? No, he can't! Ah, he had no choice but to just go all out with the tri-bolt. That's a bit of a tragic fight for Tox right there.
But look at the stacks. Tox very healthy. RAISY trying to peek, hit some rails. He's in position for the mega. He's trying to pick it up as late as possible, but he actually leaves it way too late. I'm not sure if it was the knockback from Tox keeping him away, in fact, but RAISY, big mistake there not to pick up that mega, and Tox walks away to tie up the game. He's also got plenty of time to set up for this heavy as well.
Yeah, a bit of an unusual situation. I mean, RAISY definitely wouldn't have been able to use that Sorlag air movement because he would have got pushed back, but might not have been able to seize it. I guess it doesn't matter anymore. What matters now is how they both capitalize, and Tox able to make things even Stevens, but the stack difference is so insanely high. The acid spit's been used as well, so RAISY's not going to have that kind of extra bit of damage to chunk down from this range, it's going to favor Tox. A lot of cover for RAISY. He's out of LG ammo, so that might help him out. The danger is that the machine gun more than gets the job done. He is just plowing through every single bullet. And RAISY, can he finish Tox? I'm surprised he wasn't actually able to finish that. RAISY just using every ounce of the map. Help me out, guys, please. Help. But now he's really weak.
And Tox is doing an amazing job of just managing RAISY's stack at the moment. The continual chip damage, and Tox's aim has also been on point.
I am shocked RAISY was actually able to survive that exchange. Look at how he's been able to stabilize. That's highly impressive. Unfortunate for Tox, that by all means should have been a frag, but just could not get the final bullet. Totem's there, a bit of an insurance policy for the Rockets are insane. The turnaround, RAISY survives up top and somehow gets the next frag. I cannot believe it.
No, somehow indeed. The push was good from Tox, but the rocket execution was definitely not good at all. Didn't hit anything going down through there onto the heavy, and now the map is dropping out of controls. RAISY's picked up another frag, picked up the Mega. Plenty of time to drop down into this heavy area, and Sorlag dropping down there with the air control. She's difficult to stop. Tox is in position, and that rail was key. Otherwise, RAISY could have pushed in for a kill. So one thing Tox has done well is hitting critical shots so far.
Wonderful little rail on the opening there. Damage over time. At the very least, just a tiny bit of information. It doesn't even matter that Tox is able to stop the bleeding this Tribolt. One single hit of Tribolt would have been a death sentence. Tox able to escape and get out. The danger is that RAISY has considerably more to retreat to. There's a chunky delay between the two items as well, which means that RAISY, if he gets this frag, should be able to drop down. He can just drop down anyway. And Tox cannot challenge. He has to show it the utmost respect. The problem is that he's kind of running out of time now. And RAISY keeping a giant lead like this is a scary position to be in.
Yeah, it is, and you can see the pace that RAISY wants to play at. Unfortunate missed rail there, and there's a good 10 seconds between major items, so I'd like to see RAISY make a move for this. Tox is already setting up, but RAISY's, as you can see, just dropping straight onto it. Not a fear in the world. Wasn't the cleanest, but it was enough. And now he can go back and control the Mega and the Lightning Gun. They're the two weapons that Tox needs.
Oh, and that's the acid, yeah, for sure. Just adding to that effect. 4 frags in the lead for RAISY. Tox has so much work to do if he's going to even tie things up. Willing to think this might be a GG if RAISY keeps this current pace. And Tox having to show it respect again. He can't chase too hard. Oh, the interesting drop down. RAISY picking the weirdest locations to ambush you on.
He does that. I mean, this also shows how difficult it is to play against someone like a Sorlag, because you have that additional padding with the heavy stack, and you need to play almost perfect as a Galena to pull this off, hitting all your clutch shots. And there was that one engagement, you say, where RAISY was lucky to survive. Tox misses quite an easy rail for Tox's standards, and RAISY comes back to bite and get the next frag, and it's been downhill ever since. No, RAISY.
Oh, when RAISY gets the gauntlet out, you know he's got it in the bag. You know. You know. The gauntlet comes out when he knows victory is assured and he just wants to have some fun. A bad sign. And Tox, I feel sad because he was playing so well for the first half, but it was that one moment where it slipped away from him and he just couldn't recover. It was near rocket. He needed 1 or 2 more blasts from just the regular starting machine gun. He couldn't land it. Somehow RAISY escaped, got both his regular stack back up, both of the light armors, and that was it. That was the rest of the map right there.
Yep, the momentum shifted dramatically, and then RAISY was able to capitalize upon it and made it look relatively easy in the end. Tox had a very good opening, 5-6 minutes, but unfortunately ever since RAISY got back that control, it's been a downhill spiral for the Swede, and needs to regroup. It was close, but unfortunately not this time.
Looks like things are coming to a close now. Just a victory lap here for RAISY after map 1. Shame to say dominantly in RAISY's favor after how back and forth and close it was for most of the map. But like I said, that one moment it slipped through Tox's fingers was a done deal, when RAISY using momentum like no other. Being able to create this much of a lead from one moment like that is why RAISY is such a formidable opponent at the end of the day. He's going to secure that first map, and and there's that $150 for that first map win, and that will start to add up week after week, you bet. But if we're to break that one down, really, it's just how RAISY punished mistakes. And he does punish mistakes, especially when he has the champion behind him that lets him push even harder. The speed of Sorlag, the aggressiveness, the fact that RAISY, I'd go as far to say RAISY on a large champion with good movement, I think he's, at this point, like, he's got to be the best at enforcing that. Whether it's clutch, whether it's a Sorlag, when RAISY has it, he is so scary.
Yeah, I think those two examples are the two I attribute most to RAISY. I would say someone like a Rafa plays much more effectively with a Aquila or Sorlag and playing that tempo quickly. But that's against the point, right? That when he has that, he understands how he understands attack patterns. He knows how to commit and when to commit and when that critical mass is to abuse that stack advantage. And when you hit as much as RAISY does, it's an indomitable force. So that's why Tox was obviously struggling so much. And RAISY's not somebody who's scared of anyone's aim. As good as Tox is, and this was the engagement where Tox's rockets were just unfortunately not good enough, and that's what opened up the map for RAISY. And then from there on out, it was made it look easy, even though it wasn't. You can see how many times Tox got RAISY low, but just wasn't able to do the job.
And then all these frags at the end, it's just another day in the office. Those final marks where it was a done deal a fair few minutes before it ended. Right here, he's just looking for the gauntlet. That's when RAISY knows he's got it ready to rock, and the map stuff, and we'll start having some fun now. Maybe demoralize. RAISY does play those hidden mind games all the time. If he's dominating you super hard, even look at the damage, like RAISY versus Tox. Tox gave significantly more damage. I know that's common when you go up against a large champion, but still, the fact that RAISY had it that much of a difference when we're talking of damage is still pretty damn good. But yeah, demoralizing you, trying to make you give up hope. RAISY plays a lot of those kind of crazy mid-tournament mind games, I think.
It was actually RAISY massively outrailing Tox. That was one of the deciding factors. We said quite in the early game that the rail's going to be key to unlocking this matchup for Tox, and it did play a pivotal role. Not hitting enough was allowing RAISY to get away with his life a lot of the times, or getting away healthier than he should have been. So that is something might be worrying for Tox, because as we've seen countless times, sometimes Tox will turn up and hit 70% rail, and sometimes he'll turn up and hit 20 to 30, which he just did, hitting 30. So would like to see or hope that gets a bit more clinical moving into maps 2 and 3, because obviously it was against a Sorlag, who bigger champion but still quick, so maybe it'll steady out a little bit more as he warms up.
So I believe we should actually have the picks and bans soon. So we will actually be finding out what the rest of the maps will be with the champions that go alongside it. I was assured, hey, there it is, Blood Run up next. Interesting. Nick's coming out from RAISY with the Ranger removed and the Visor. Have been quite the popular champion today for Tox. And then Molten Falls, the BJ, and Strog. So that is going to be the set. We already know that Ruins has come to a close, with RAISY taking that victory quite dominantly by the end of things. So now Blood Run's going to be the next location, folks.
Yeah, I like the Visor pick a lot. I think if Tox can play down on that low ground well, control the Mega, and get as many vials as he can against the Nyx, could cause life to be a little bit difficult for RAISY. Little bit worried moving on to Molten with BJ against Strog and Pika. Have found in the past that just the crouch sliding capability of the Strog can be quite overpowering against the BJ, particularly if he's caught out of position or if that positioning isn't on point throughout the game. But we are moving into Blood Run, where we do see Visor against the Nyx. So yeah, control of the vials is going to be a feature here. Keeping uptime on those abilities. Obviously the Ghost Walk is paramount to a Nyx's survival, whereas the Piercing Sight is useful throughout. And that's always the dilemma as a player in this type of matchup, is do you hold on to that Piercing Sight and use it just to secure kills, or do you use it to forge openings? It often pans out based on how the map plays out, but I'm a bit more of a fan to use it aggressively, create opportunities to keep the Nyx on the back foot. If you reserve it just to secure kills, you sometimes underutilize it and it doesn't become effective. So I would much rather be proactive with that.
I've always firmly believed that RAISY is one of the absolute best players in the world at just making champions thrive as champions. Going into every single map, just knowing exactly what kind of utility he wants. I think he was one of the players that really pioneered that. Definitely not every player, when this game first came out, really started to think about the champions in that kind of way. So when it comes to things like managing his Ghost Walk, borrowing hourglasses, making sure he's always got it ready to rock. He's the one player you will count on it without fail. But they do exchange them. The Ghost Walk being forced out already, as you can see. RAISY weak enough to decide to escape, but he's used it in between, so this piercing sight is actually be quite beneficial for Tox. He knows that RAISY has no way of saving himself. If he can trap him now, this should be a frag.
Yeah, that's a perfect use of it. Securing the major item, forcing your opponent away from the heavy. RAISY not having the confidence to jump across, knowing the Ghost Walk isn't up, doesn't have a stack to commit to it. Tox has won himself map control. Not entirely sure where RAISY is, so that's why he's delaying it somewhat. He's also putting a split on the 2 items as well. 15 seconds now. So, nice!
Ooh,
what a reaction.
That was... that's a Tox rail right there.
Such reaction time for him. That was incredible.
I think Tox single-handedly proving that old man reactions is a myth.
I would agree with that.
Oh,
Piercing sights up. Would be a good time to use it now. Having that stack up as he does, he sees his opponent, fake rocket jump, tries to bait RAISY's movement out.
cheeky boy. Looks like he, at the very least, does actually manage to funnel RAISY at least into one area where he can get damage. Oh, wait, the Ghost Walk! That isn't too bad for Tox, because it means that RAISY can't push crazy hard. RAISY wasn't able to punish in between cooldowns of the rail, so not a terrible lot for him, to be honest.
No, RAISY did eat that final rail, so forced onto the back foot, but the stacks are relatively even. Ghost Walk is down for quite a while. Tox has position on the major items as well. Let the heavy go, but before, nice try ball. RAISY forced to retreat here after eating that and giving away his position. Not able to set up a trap, which is what he wanted to do through that teleporter. And Tox has both items and the Ghost Walk up. He knows RAISY's over there though, so he doesn't need to use his piercing sight just yet.
He also doesn't want to get caught mumbling to himself so that he gives away his position.
Exactly. He's going to
Hang on,
catch him from behind.
Surprise! Surprise!
Now he can pop it.
Now he can pop it!
There it goes. This is sure to be a kill as RAISY forfeits his life. Oh, Lord.
I think that's one of my favorite frags I've ever seen.
I mean, the awareness from Tox there, just to understand that RAISY was not going to be moving. Without a stack, without the Ghost Walk, he realized RAISY's defensive positioning. So, really smart play from the Swede to open the score.
And he had the perfect tool to shut down the Ghost Walk. That was a complete counterplay of Nyx. Oh, that was such a good frag. I'm still... Man, yeah, I'm not going to talk about that too much, but... No, it was so good. It was so good. Anyway, Tox has been able to give himself lots of momentum from that. Crazy stack difference, piercing sight, now locked and loaded, but as is the Ghost Walk. So what's the play? He knows that RAISY is specifically positioning himself so he has extra information. The Ghost Walk's just going to make it even harder to pin him down.
Yeah, I like how Tox is playing this map so far. He's got both major items on lockdown. RAISY is quite happy for that, though. He doesn't want to take any engagements. He's just slowly building a stack. He needs to work a position, work a trap. There's no need to commit, so you can see him. He's actually calm. He needs to hit a few early rails to try and dwindle down Tox's stack, but trading is not what he wants to do, and this is why he's gone passive once again. And Tox is in prime position to swoop up both major items. And that needs to be the priority. Can't let RAISY get an easy route back into this game. But at the same time, he needs to be aware that picking up items is a risk. Once again, he's delaying this Mega. I like that, to fall back onto it if he needs to. And also increasing the split to a cool 15 seconds.
Massive delay between the two of them now. Enough that if Tox can maintain control here, he can absolutely work with it. If he can do enough damage to force out the Ghost Walk, he still has a little bit of extra information, knowing that at the very least he was down there, but the teleporter becomes a threat too, so this heavy. Tricky business, but no challenge, actually. RAISY being very patient. That was a lot of discipline there from RAISY. I was almost expecting RAISY to listen out for the rocket and then teleport to try and punish him through the other side. I think Tox was looking for that as well. Oh, that's a tri-bolt and a half.
It's a lot of damage. But RAISY will have the Ghost Walk back up if Tox wants to commit. The piercing sight comes out early. RAISY knows exactly what's going on here, but dancing. He might be forced to pop the Ghost Walk. He does, but he does eat a couple of rockets. He's still not that weak. He's trying to set up a trap, but decides to retreat at the last second.
Both players so tuned in on where the other one is, but it's just not having an ability to really finish it so far. Tox keeping a giant stack. RAISY as slippery as ever, though.
I mean, this will always favor RAISY. Tox not able to capitalize upon the continued dominance he's had on this map. And it's an obvious saying, but all it takes is that one frag to tie it up and RAISY's back in the game. So not giving away frags is the name of the game so far. There's still lots of time to go, 4 minutes in this game.
You're never comfortable. You're never safe if you're only one frag in the lead, especially against someone like RAISY who has got this explosive nature, the unpredictable nature. Tox, although he has piercing sight pretty regularly, still looking a little bit lost on where RAISY actually is. He's covering as much space as physically possible, you know, no corner left unchecked, yet he still has not been able to pinpoint where he is exactly. And he's been able to sneak his way in. And at the very least, take this heavy. This heavy alone has given RAISY that opening. He drops down the LG fight, and he hit these rails. Waiting for the piercing sight to be gone. Patience there from RAISY. Again, playing the matchup.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard ask, but it's something we said is that Tox can't let RAISY get an easy route back into this map, and he had that long split on the items when RAISY was able to sneak away that heavy. He's also in position for this next one. He's dropping down aggressively. Got the earlier switch to the weapon as well, and
there we go.
The tracking is good. That's all it takes. He bound his time for 7 minutes, and he manages to get that frag, and now Tox is in trouble. Should have stuck to the rocket. And there you go, 7 minutes of graft, and all it's taken is 20 seconds for RAISY to flip it on its head.
It says so much about RAISY's talent, where he is able to re-establish some element of control without firing a single shot. That one time he was able to go up there and steal away heavy, which gave him the green light to then start asserting himself around the map. He didn't fire a shot to achieve that. He just snuck around and stole it.
Exactly. And like I said, it's hard for Tox. RAISY has more mobility on the Nyx. He was playing smarter to keep away despite of Tox dominance. And the second Tox made a mistake, RAISY jumped on it and has already extended the lead to 2.
And this is now full control for RAISY, who has both of these items. The opening here, the safety of the Ghost Walk, but it looks like Tox isn't even going to try and take that heavy, more so try and put himself in position. He did a chunk of damage, but this shotgun. Oh no!
And Tox is also getting massively out-aimed. A couple of engagements now, RAISY's tracking has just been on fire. I mean, it's not like Tox is aiming badly, it's just RAISY is aiming exceptionally. And he's going to jump in here. He's kind of forced to make these super risky plays now with only a minute and a half to go, and that's not going to pay off. And 4 frags we've seen. It took Tox. Oh,
hi everyone.
Hello.
Go back. Go back. I know you're doing it. Don't worry. But wait. I hope. Oh,
wait. Hello. There we go.
There we go. Oh, no. At least we got the gauntlet. We got the gauntlet. That's fine. That's all we need. We got the gauntlet. That's ready.
Yeah. It took Tox, 7.5 minutes to not even make a frag. Unfortunately, he's out of time.
Absolutely. Oh no, he's going for it again. Cheeky RAISY. You know what? I'm glad we cut back right as we got the patented RAISY gauntlet kill. It wouldn't be a RAISY game without at least one gauntlet. It's how he rolls. But the impressive ability to just play around that one moment to turn things around. The patience of RAISY. And like you said, out-aiming Tox. Not many players in the world can say they can out-aim Tox in a competitive setting.
Nope. RAISY is one of the few.
Gauntlet opportunity. Gauntlet opportunity. RAISY, you can get the gauntlet out. Hi everyone. Welcome back, everyone. There we go. We cut that at least. We saw that. The map's over.
The map is over.
Don't worry about it. You guys didn't miss anything. You didn't miss anything. RAISY's going to take the win. But I got to say, highly competitive kind of first section, but that one moment that he was able to, I will keep a straight face, don't you worry about it. That one time where he stole that heavy was where it all began. It was the beginning of the end for Tox. And I don't even want to say that was a negative for Tox. I think that was just RAISY playing insanely well to just play for that one item.
I mean, the reason why I think I like that frag a lot is just it goes to show how far RAISY's come on in the last year. The fact that he was so well known for his commanding, aggressive performances, racking up frag after frag after frag, and yet he respected and had the discipline to play from behind the entire game, to not even show on the map, to not even try to deal damage, just play strategically, methodically, use those audio cues and play around Tox to the point where Tox couldn't even find his opponent most of the time. And then as soon as you rightly say, a mistake was made, he capitalized upon it and had the situational awareness to know how to push his initiative. And then from there on out, he just was able to get a couple of spawn frags and use his advantage to keep the pressure on Tox, and got a couple of easy follow-up frags as well. So full credit to RAISY. Unfortunately for Tox, he wasn't able to find a way to break that. And it's credit to RAISY because he played exceptionally well. And once again, you can see the aim. 54% lightning gun against Tox is 40. That was quite a big factor because whenever Tox went into these engagements, he was coming out licking his wounds.
Especially considering Tox wasn't playing a large champion, the kind of champion where you would expect that kind of accuracy.
Exactly.
So it's an extra element. And actually, looking at the items, look at the lack of control RAISY had, like mathematically. 6 heavies, 5 megas, yet 6-3. And that's not the kind of difference that you see. Almost shades of a Wenger, almost. You know, Wenger is a player that everyone says is more than happy to not have complete control of those items, yet he still manages to be the one in control of the map. RAISY definitely showing that that's a similar style on Blood Run for him.
No, 100%. And that's why it's so impressive to play without items against someone of the caliber of Tox for so long. Extremely impressive. Definitely would have liked to see more creativity coming out from Tox. It's about finding that balance, as we spoke about, of being able to control the whole map, not slip up, and keep the pressure on your opponent. Yes, it's a very, very tough task, and actually nearly impossible on Blood Run if your opponent's playing well. But in hindsight, he definitely needs to try and press his advantage more than he did. But again, against a Nick, sometimes you've got to question yourself, what can you do? So,
I mean, it's a bit of a testament to how good his lightning gun was that apparently he had 2 of them. That's how the damage was so high, the perfect accuracy. Speaking of 2 lightning guns, though, our final map, Tox is going to be using the BJ on the Molten Falls. So, as to remind everyone, just because someone is 2-0 down, it's not the end of the world because of every single map having that kind of flat, strict $150 for a map win, $50 for a map loss. It's just always the way it is. So if you can seize that final map, it will still count towards your final tally as we go into the stage finals. So Tox, he's 2-0 down, but the first half, kind of both those maps, super competitive. It's just when RAISY turned things around that one time, he was just locked in. And it is the element of these top-level Quake players. Once that control is theirs, or at the very least the momentum is theirs. It's not always control, as we evidently saw on Blood Run. That can be the end of it. And RAISY has done that on 2 separate maps. In Ruins of Sarnath, it was that one time he won the fight near Heavy when he somehow survived with like barely any health up top near Rocket. And then in Blood Run, it was that Heavy steal without firing a shot, which was still an insanely impressive feat. We're going on to Molten Falls now. At the very least, Tox is going to have the dual wield, but I believe, if memory serves, Strog was the pick for RAISY.
Yeah, picks alone, I'm a little bit worried for Tox. It's not the most imbalanced, but I definitely favour Strog in this encounter, particularly on this map. So Tox is going to have to play positioning on point, otherwise RAISY will end up running rings around him, and we know how strong RAISY is on the Strog and Pika. So let's see what Tox has to offer. Fortunately, as you rightly said, he has 2 lightning guns to work with, so that will help him come up against RAISY.
I have 2 guns. However, what we have seen many times, Telesex, is the importance of movement on Molten Falls. And if RAISY gets an early lead, it's going to be very hard for Tox to keep up with him. But checking things out from RAISY's point of view first. And this is that classic slow beginning of a Molten. Now, you've both got an item, an important item to work with. You have to take a little bit of time to build up those weapons that you need. Every weapon is important on this kind of map. You need that rail, you need the rocket, LG, all of it. And now RAISY dropping down, getting heavy. But neither player giving up too much information. You can hear just as much care coming out from Tox. And I say here because there's no footsteps. Or not here, as the case may be.
Yeah, been very respectful play from RAISY. Well, from both players, in fact, but more so from RAISY, someone who you don't often associate respect with in that regard. He often likes to take the game to his opponents, but definitely showing that respect to Tox. He didn't catch sight of him. Tox did get a nice little rail, but it's not going to be enough. RAISY does jump down onto that heavy, pick it up. He's back to where he was before. Tox, on the other hand, plenty of time to take that Mega away safely, and they do maintain exactly the same positions.
Wasn't the worst exchange in the world. If anything, it's just given both players information, which is more than they had at map start when neither player had any idea where each other was. And now the footsteps. RAISY getting more information than usual, and he stays for almost a minute and a half. And wow, Tox! Knocked away, but that rocket was fantastic. The fact that RAISY stayed in that upper room for about a minute, which is just at least a minute there, I do not think Tox was ready for him to just set up shop the way he did.
Nope, but they do retreat to relatively similar stacks, as they're both now trading their own home ground of major items as they become. RAISY on the heavy, Tox on the mega. Tox is the one trying to make stuff happen, but RAISY's quite happy to play this type of game. Wait for the Tox to make the mistake, which he does!
Wow!
And
the perfect
RAISY,
rocket angle for the direct.
I mean, RAISY barely moved for the first 2 minutes. He just let Tox fall into his trap. Blessing in disguise for Tox is that the items are on par in terms of timing. So he has that mega to fall back on, but he has no weapons. You can see the trouble he has killing that Pika, and RAISY knows how much damage he's done, so he pushes in, tries to get him off, and that's a relatively clean kill. Something we often don't speak about is obviously picking up those health bubbles from killing your opponent as a struggle. They can come in incredible value, and Tox with an ultra aggressive play there. Very early before this heavy as well. RAISY knows he's got all the time in the world, and Tox actually relents, not knowing when the timing was. And now RAISY is in the ascension even more.
Ironically, this kind of game plan, especially when we saw early on of one player setting up shop and being hyper defensive, letting the other player play into their hands, normally something that the player that doesn't have the mobility versus the player that does. It's kind of almost interesting to see RAISY as the one that is able to outspeed Tox, being the one that is leading him into a trap. Normally the other way around. Looks like the dual wield's coming out. Lots of rockets in rapid succession, but no match for the Godslayer's LG. Oh, yeah. There's no way you can contest with that one.
That was not the play. Seems Tox is reaching desperation mode here, going in super aggressively. RAISY is responding, he's very low, and finally one of these pushes works out, even though in theory it shouldn't do. And once again, Tox has not got the weaponry or the position, just sacrificing his life, and he's giving away 3 frags to RAISY. I mean, semi-headless at this point. RAISY's also in position to trap him. Another easy frag, and Tox needs to reassess, because this isn't the way he needs to be playing right now. And don't want him to jump in again. He's just before the heavy. RAISY, yeah, this is not good from Tox.
It's a danger that Tox tends to put forward. When, I mean, the reason he's doing this at the moment is because there is 4 minutes. Tox really likes to try and spawn and rush and try and kind of almost like strong arm the momentum away. The problem is it rarely works. I can't remember the last time I saw it work.
Well, I think it's also partly the fact that he hasn't found an answer to combat RAISY. He spent the whole of Blood Run playing methodical. He spent the first 2.5 minutes of this map playing methodical, and RAISY outsmarted him. Oh no!
Oh! Taste of your own mind still didn't work!
How?
Oh, what's going on here, Dad? I don't understand. I don't understand.
No, but going back to the point, like, the way in which Tox is throwing away those frags was... it wasn't a calculated play whatsoever.
I mean, the map is
kind
over.
Well, now it's over. Now the map's over. Yeah, 100%. And he threw away almost 6 frags in a row. You could have justified 1 or 2 because he got RAISY relatively low, but there was just a couple where he was forcing. He was kind of running down a blind alley, and now the game's over.
And the cycle of control continues. The kamikaze for the guaranteed damage. RAISY stack far too extreme to make him worry about getting caught during that deployment. All he has is plasma. Does manage to get a frag, but I mean, by all means, that kind of should have been one for RAISY, but there's just no way. There's nothing Fox is going to be able to do here to contest. I mean, he's getting a bit of damage and he's getting these frags. He has even got a pretty healthy stack, but there's just too much work to do. You have to do this on the understanding that RAISY's not going to get a single extra frag, which is almost impossible.
RAISY could also play this game on almost any way he wants now. He can play super defensive, or he can play super aggro because he has frags to spare. So let's see how he plays it. Does still look like Tox isn't throwing in the towel just yet, but he also needs to make some relatively risky plays.
25 health regenerated, that will surely help him.
It is a big weakness of Tox, though, is how to play on the defense, and the way he tried to take the game to RAISY wasn't the play. It could have been frustration, could have been just out of options, could have been miscalculations, but it didn't work. Whatever it was.
Now, what we very loosely touched on at the very beginning of this map is the difference of speed. A major problem that Tox is going to find himself in, not even including the fact that he's getting fragged still, is if RAISY now decides, okay, 3 minutes on the clock, I'm going to play hard to get. I'm going to use my movement to my advantage. If Tox, he's in a position where he has to chase RAISY, but RAISY's taking the fight to him anyway, so this might be a bit of an irrelevant talking point. But Tox can't chase him. I just think it's impossible. There's nothing he can do. Because even if RAISY wasn't bringing the fight to him, RAISY could just run away for the sort of 2.5 minutes, and he's not going to be able to chase the Strog because he doesn't have the speed. The crouch slide is too good for this matchup.
No, exactly, and this is one of the reasons why we said this particular matchup is so hard. At the end of the day, like, the mobility and speed of champions plays such a massive role in the dynamics of a duel. So whilst it isn't a def win, it changes the way in which you need to approach the game, and means you generally have less room for error as well. That's why someone like Base is such an incredible jeweler, because he'll basically just pick medium champions irrespective of the situation, but plays so positionally astute that he makes it work.
It's 2 minutes of just finishing things off now. RAISY will be taking a victory over Tox overall. He's played out of his skin in this final map. But this is the RAISY that we know, and Tribal just for good measure. He died so hard, he died screaming, and the scream continued.
Yeah, only Tox could tell us why he flipped a switch and went into a full aggressive mode, but the game has been over since then. You can see he's just walking at RAISY right now. Not really much else to be said.
Just getting the rest of the map done and dusted, because it will be RAISY walking away with a fantastic start to his Season 2. You can say that again. With a 17-2 minimum on this final map. I mean, that's one hell of a record to get on Tox.
I mean, yeah, that's quite something. And considering the last time these two met in the league matchups, Tox walked away with the victory. RAISY will be very happy with that, I'm sure. Tox is not an easy opponent, even though RAISY made him look like one.
But that's... I've said that about RAISY many times in the past. What impresses me so much about RAISY is how he can make the best players in the world look easy.
No.
Like right now, like he's still not going to give up. Surely, yeah, Tox is going to get that. There's no way. Just run at man with Gauntlet and just see what happens. But yeah, I mean, just you can go up against players and get these kind of score lines. RAISY just having fun with it, making it look so simple, is not something a lot of players can say they're able to do. But we're coming to a close here. Our latest series finished. RAISY domination, 20-4, the final count. Ridiculous display, but that's why RAISY is absolutely one of the greatest in the business.
Definitely is. Seems to have found his form again. We've saw multitude of different playstyles throughout this series. Obviously map 1, a bit more aggressive on the Sorlag, taking the pace to Tox, and Tox having a strong first 5-6 minutes, but once that momentum switched, it was game over. Map 2, RAISY hyper defensive, ultimate respect, and that's sometimes the way you need to play the Nyx on that map, and Tox didn't have the answer to it. And as soon as RAISY sees the opportunity, it was game over, and map 3 was over in 2 minutes once Tox decided to go pretty aggressive, which I'm not entirely sure what the thought process was, but he had tried everything to break the RAISY wall across the series and wasn't able to. So that was another option that didn't work. So it was an easy 3-0 overall.
Absolutely. I mean, look, 3 minutes, only a 2-0 here, and then this was the turning point. This was when
this here,
Tox...
I'm not sure what this play was. Like he used the dual wield and he only had a rocket, and I think he just felt, oh, I've used it now, I may as well go in. And then he went in aggressive here with the rockets. Just didn't have the weapons to commit, and yet he was trying to force the issue. And before you know it, look, it's 8-0, now 9-0 after an incredible flick rail. And then what do you do? Like you rightly said, how do you even catch the stroll to make up that 10 frag differential?
But this is a perfect demonstration of how the map went, how it was 3 minutes and it was 2-0. 2 minutes later, 10-0. Like, yeah. Come on, that's ridiculous. That's absolute insanity how quickly RAISY's able to daisy chain those together. And Tox, yeah, it's something that he does quite often when early on in the map, he pushes, because it's almost like he thinks, okay, well, if I can stop this momentum now, maybe I can just kind of surprise take it back or whatever. I completely understand the reasoning behind it, but yeah. He does it more often than not, and I can't remember the last time I actually saw that kind of early aggression when behind. I cannot remember the last time I saw it work out to the point where it's worth doing all the time, you know?
I mean, it's something that used to work in previous iterations of Quake, but it's not as effective in Quake Champions, to be sure. And it's as we saw before, it's something where you can just throw 2 or 3 lives at your opponent, weaken them to a point, and then steal the map away. That's the thought process, but there was never a situation in any of those pushes where I felt that Tox had the right to be pushing RAISY. It wasn't like from the previous rush, he had got him low, and it wasn't like he had spawned with the right weapon. RAISY made sure he kept Tox at a distance. And so it was kind of just Tox banging his head against the wall, hoping he would hit Miracle Shot. And that's not the way you want to be approaching this type of game.
And it's no wonder he got shredded the way he did with only 2 heavy armors to his name.
Well, after that engagement, he was kind of just chasing RAISY around the map. Whether he had given up or whether he was just trying to kill him, it doesn't really matter. He didn't put any emphasis on playing the map. He was just trying to take fights. And you can see RAISY just rotated the items. The damage wasn't actually too different overall. It was just, yeah, that item control and that early lead was just insurmountable.
And an impressive display for RAISY. No doubt Maestro are incredibly happy with that outcome. Not the last we see of Maestro today, as soon we will have Wenger versus Kilson as one of our featured matches of the day. But it's not just yet. Up next is going to be Dewey versus Chain. So, I mean, overall, RAISY, he's going to feel good about that one. Tox, shame to see the last map go down the way it did. I think the 2 maps prior were a lot more competitive up until those moments. RAISY kind of just flipped that switch, and the general map belonged to him before it ended. But that final map was definitely a bit of a different story, and RAISY kind of just having a bit of a laugh with it by the end of things. But our next matchup, Dewey versus Chain, should still be exciting. We're going to go for a quick break, set things up. Don't go anywhere, because Season 2, Week 1, Quake Pro League, back in a few minutes.